Hi there, Katerina is here, and we're going to learn one of the songs that all of my students absolutely love. It's called In the Hall of the Mountain King, so it's about the Mountain King, a troll that we go to. So that's the version that a lot of my students really love, and it's quite simple, and obviously you can change quite a lot of things in here and you can build on top of it and make it even more complicated. So for instance, once you go to that main melody, so you can do a lot of things behind it, and you can use those lower notes as well if you want to. And once we go to those chords, you can use the full chords again, so with lots of octaves in there, and obviously you can build up octaves. So, but the idea is, first of all, get the base of it, get the chords, and then you can build on top of it. So let's come back to it, because it's actually quite a simple song. 5 fingers, 5 notes, then middle finger goes to that E flat because we're inside C minor, and it's just 5 notes going upwards. Then afterwards, very simple melody, E. Back to your third one and your pinky. Then afterwards you change to the next bit, and literally what happens in there, so you just play G, G, E flat, G, ta ta ta, and then you put those notes half a step semitone down, C, F sharp and D, and then afterwards another half a step down or semitone down, and that's it. So you use that 4 to 4 for this one, and then 4 to 4 for this one when it comes to the fingering. It's very simple. And then try to keep, especially in the very, very beginning, so you have like tiptoeing character that goes into those. It's scary. There it goes. All right, so then the melody changes a little bit, so we'll have to move our hand upwards in there. So once it's still the same beginning, and then it's still E flat and G, but the only thing that thumb second, because we need to come to with our pinky to that C. Again, just practice making sure that you're able to do that change. For those of you who have played the piano before, it's not a big deal. For those of you who are just starting out, just make sure that you get that. All right, because that is important change. And if you do it on that melody in your left hand as well, that this is where you will have to practice, making sure that over here you have your pinky actually, or at least your forefinger. And then with your thumb, you need to arrive with your thumb to that C. Because the rest of the notes then are going to be quite simple. If you are stuck, however, that doesn't work that much. So try to acquire good habits right away. Think in advance, where do you need your fingers to be? And you do need your top fingers for that top note, for that matter. And then after, it's very simple. It's E flat major chord, so it's those notes, E flat, G, and B flat. We go downwards and we go upwards. Again, you can do it with both hands, you can do it with just one hand. So that's the main melody. So connecting, going up, and you have that longer note at the end. Then repeat the same melody. All right, so let's come back and bring it all downwards. And I really suggest you for the beginning to play it with both hands, doing exactly the same thing. And you can start a little bit slower as well. And see, in my left hand I just use 2, 3, 5, 3, 2. Then afterwards we have the same melody, but this is where you can start building up on top of what is it that you have in your left hand. And left hand is very simple over here. If you just have C minor chord. So, and the thing that you can do over here, just switch between the bass and the top note. Sounds very effective. So for those of you who are starting out to play, that one it could be a little bit challenging in the beginning, so connecting that rhythm. So for those of you who have played before, it's going to be quite simple thing. And for those of you who are starting out, take a look what you can do in here. So you do have, basically the rhythm goes like this. Together, right, together, right, together, right, together. And once you start the dum, bum, ba, you have a longer note at the end. So that's the reason why you will have dum, bum, bum. And then after the same one, dum. Here it is. And once we go over here, so once it goes upwards, only once you go to that B flat, this is where you, the first time when you change the chord, it goes to E flat major to be precise. But yeah, again, we'll just keep it up onto the fifth in there. 5 fingers, 5 notes, and you will have your pinky and your thumb. This is how you get the fifth, yeah? E flat, B flat. We'll just alternate between 2. Da, 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 da. It's very simple. Again, together, right, together, right, together. Only this time we'll finish with the left hand. So here it is. Let's connect it all. Fun, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, the next part. So you do have that one 2 times, that whole big paragraph. Then afterwards we go to the second paragraph. This is where we move to G, to our dominant in there, so to our 5th chord, meaning that in your left hand you will have that G. So again, just to keep it as a simple version, so you just go to the 5th and it's just literally G in there, G and D, G and D, so bottom finger goes to G. Now with your right hand, again, it's very simple melody. Yes, your right hand does go to that G, and then it's just 5 notes again going upwards. Similar idea, then return to our 3rd and then back to the 12th one. Then we'll take a look, this is where it changes. We just push just the top note and we push it semitone upwards this time. So E flat or D sharp, whatever you think about it. And then it's back. So one more time, listen. Then the second time we repeat the same melody, but this time it becomes a little bit shorter. And then it's just D at the end. And again, when it comes to playing both hands, what can you do? Just alternate between those bass and top, bass and top, bass and top, bass and top, bass and top. It is important to get that rhythm because even from that point onwards, you can start experimenting with your left hand, you can start building up more things on top of it. So for instance, you can go to the octave in your left hand. It becomes much more exciting. See how much fun it is, yeah? You can also slow down the rhythm if you want to for your left hand, or you can speed up that right hand as well. And the version that I did at the very, very beginning, so I played this one. Then we go repeat the same paragraph in there, but I just applied the pedal to it. And as soon as you apply the pedal, you just have much more resonance between the sounds, and obviously it sounds much deeper. So, and then once you increase a little bit of, once you have a little bit of increase in the tempo and the volume for that matter, it becomes much more interesting. But yeah, you feel free to experiment and, for instance, do more of those jumps in there. I use those jumps, and this is where a lot of my students really relax into playing the octaves and the fifth or top, so it's getting used to those jumps. I actually advise to slow down a little bit once we go to C, because it goes first paragraph, second paragraph, then we come back to the first paragraph again. Here it is. So our right hand goes upwards because he gets closer to that troll in there. So, and for your left hand, you can start, for instance, playing the bass, and for the bass, it's going to be just an octave, and then just jump to the fifth. Let's keep it simple for now. Octave and the fifth, octave and the fifth. And if you want to get used to the jumps, and it is challenging to do something like that, because it's a quick change in there, so you can slow down that left hand in there. So for instance, you can have the bass one on the bottom note, and then once you have the top note, this is where you go to the fifth. Then it becomes so easy, because take a look at the next phrase, dum dum dum, you will have just the octave and then just the fifth on top. See? Simple, but at the same time you can increase the tempo and you will feel much more at ease between jumping, so until you get used to those jumps. Once we go over here, it is an E flat, so meaning that you have to change to E flat. Again, you can use that E flat, or even go in further downwards in there. So, but yeah, the octave and the fifth. That's it. And once you come back to that first paragraph after the second paragraph after the one in G, and once you come back to that C minor, first time you play it exactly the same, and the second time there is a little bit of a change. It's actually quite simple, it's simpler than what we had before. So 5 notes upwards, you still have to push to move your hand upwards. So it's going to be E flat, G, C. And that one, for those of you who know, that one is the first inversion of that C minor chord. And we just keep it there. And then we come back to the bottom C. So one more time. Change. So yeah, I was literally playing, I just arrived to that C on top, something that we had before. Previously we've been going to that E flat major chord, now we don't, so we just keep the same notes. G, E flat, G, C, and then C at the end. And since you don't have to change the chord, it's so much easier because you're just keeping C minor in your left hand all the time. And again, you can experiment with your left hand in there, so you can do much more things. If you want, you can also do some kind of arpeggios as well in there. Or create even some rhythms in there. Maybe just the bass. So see, you can do something like that as well. It all just comes to the moment, and then the more you practice, the better it becomes. It's a wonderful song to start experimenting, because the idea is you start very simple and then you build and build on top of it. Now, after all of that, so after you play that C minor and you finish on that C minor, I think in the original version they kind of build even more things on top of it, so it is entirely up to you. You can repeat the whole first paragraph, second paragraph, and back to the first paragraph with the end in C minor. And then you do have that moment when you go bum, 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 bum. So what goes on in here? Again, the idea is very simple. We do have what we listen to, we hear that C, 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 but the chord changes in there. The first one is just very clear C minor, and this is where definitely you need the pedal. So you have C's. You can do both octaves if you want to. If you want, you can do just single notes in there, entirely up to you. But the idea is for your right hand and for your left hand, you're playing C's. And then afterwards, you need to go to that C on top and take a look what happens. It's the first inversion that we have played so many times before in our right hand. Isn't it? So, and you just play this one. In your left hand, you can play the whole chord. If you want to, you can keep it just to the bottom note on the 12th one, so E flat and C. Again, just have fun, experiment at home. So you've got C with the pedal, C, and then the chord on top. So in your right hand, it's E flat, G, and C. In your left hand, let it be just E flat and C. And as soon as you have that one is a very short chord, which is it's played on staccato. Release the pedal alongside it. See, even if you play. Now, the second one changes. We do have E flat diminished chord in there. Again, what happens in there? If you think about the full chord, it is diminished 7 in there. So E flat, G flat, and then A and C in there. Again, you can play the whole chord, or if you want to, you can just change just one note. Instead of playing E flat, G, and C like we did for that C minor chord, just change that second finger to that F sharp. In your left hand, you can play just, again, the bottom on the top, or if you want to have a little bit more extra there, so then just go for that chord there. See, that those diminished sevens, they do add more tension. That's precisely what we want in there. And then a little bit more tension. See? There is that tension. Because if I played the same C minor chord, it would have sounded more, well, the same, but we need more or less the same, but with more tension. So that's the reason why we do go to that diminished chord there. All right, and that's it. So see, it's quite simple. Just experiment. And you can, of course, go to full octaves. Then afterwards, you do have a simplish melody. So we do go to C minor again, but this is where we change the melody a little bit. So let's just call that one third paragraph. I'll just show you from middle C there. That's the one, yes. So again, the idea is more or less the same. So we do go with that C minor. It always starts with 5 notes going upwards. And then we move our hand upwards. C minor chord, you're already familiar with this one. It's exactly the same what we've been doing for the first paragraph. And then it changes. We change to, basically we need to play G major chord. B, G, B, D. See, it is literally G major chord. And then we finish it on C. Again, the ideas are very simple. For all of those great songs, all of those genius, wonderful songs, they do have a very, very simple idea as the base of it all, as foundation of it all. So C minor, and then use your fourth one or your third finger, it doesn't really matter. In here, B, and then just change your position right away to that G major chord. See? G, B, G, B, D, and then just finish C, probably your fourth one, and then back to your thumb. If you want, you can add C afterwards. And the chords are very obvious in here. First chord, this is where we change a little bit. So we go to A flat major in here. A flat, E flat. Now, once you have the next one, it is definitely C minor because we're literally playing C minor chord. Instead of jumping over here, so much easier to do. So take a look. Just push your pinky down to that G, and E flat. And then we change to G, and then C. Again, you can do anything you like about those chords. The chords over here is A flat, C minor, G major, and then obviously once we have that last C, it is back to C minor. All right, and the structure behind it all. So you do have that moment when we have bum, 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 bum. Then we do have that melody. Finishing on just C's or whatever you prefer in there. Then the second time you do go, maybe this way you go to more octaves in there, diminished chord, and then we do have the melody downwards. And then we have that moment of that just diminished chord, and then it's just the bass, and then diminished chord in here. And then we actually can bring it upwards. Do it as many times as you want to. Listen to the original symphony as well, so which is going to be quite interesting. And afterwards, just a tiny tremolo in there. Again, if you're just beginning, so it's just a good idea just to play a couple of C's. Just make sure you have the pedal on. C, bass on there, so the low C and the bass C. If you want, you can do it with both hands with tremulous for those Cs. It's a lot of fun. And then once you do this one, just finish on the very short chord at the end and release the pedal. So one more time, what goes on here? And that's the end of that song. It's a lot of fun. Again, just make sure that you got that first paragraph, second paragraph, then you are building up on top of it. So first of all, the simple melody, then very, very simple accompaniment for that left hand. Let me just bottom and top, bottom and top, bottom and top, because it sounds really nice. Then you start jumping much more with your left hand, because it's a really good, it's really good practice. So for instance, you have the bass and the chord on top. That's the usual way. Again, you can change those chords, obviously, to something else in there. And know your chords. And from the chord point, it's a very simple song. Okay, play. I hope you have enjoyed. If you do have any questions or if something is unclear, then just let me know in the comments. All right, all the best.